We're live. All right.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Who's in charge here?
Yeah.
Nobody's in charge.
Yeah, who's it? Christopher, are you going to introduce?
Yeah, I should probably speak. So welcome to ZOIA History Eve with Jay and Steve.
We had to do it at night.
We had to do it at
to make
night
it rhyme.
for the rhyming purposes. We're gonna do some Q&A. We're gonna start with a little interview where I talk to Jay and Steve, and then we'll flip over to community questions and that sort of thing. So if you have those, maybe you can go ahead and start typing them. And Mitch is going to be, I'm pointing in the right direction. It's going to be sort of like checking those out. But first, let's do introductions. So in this corner, we have Steve Bragg. No,
oh, you do? Uh-oh, it's switched up.
Am I not pointing at you? Who?
Nope. It worked the first time. I guess we got tricked by the... That's okay.
I think we're labeled, though, so it shouldn't be too confusing.
In one of the corners is Steve Bragg, the owner and co-designer of ZOIA. Okay. In another corner is Jay Fee, who is also the other co-designer of ZOIA. And then we have Mitch Lance, who is it head of marketing? Is that your title these days? Head of marketing for Empress Effects, and served as a beta tester for ZOIA, so has some perspective from that. And then I'm Christopher. You probably know me, but if you don't, I'm a ZOIA enthusiast who harassed these two into doing this. Sorry. So the like I said, I wanted to start with just asking a few questions to establish a timeline, because I thought that'd be easier for the community's questions to sort of build off of. And the first place I wanted to go was, how did you two meet? What's the story of Jay and Steve?
Yeah, this goes back.
It's going back a while.
Probably like 2002, maybe.
Maybe even 2001. Yeah, it would have been 2001, I think. Yeah.
I think Jay was hired. Well, I was thinking about this more. I'm like, I think Jay was hired. I met Jay because he was hired to keep my band in line. Does that kind of make sense, Jay? I don't really know Jay's side of the story.
No, I think I worked at a studio, and Steve was in a band, and your dad, Steve's dad, is like a prominent musician around the city here in Ottawa. He was producing a lot of country records, so he was good friends with the studio owner. And then he kind of the owner let you guys make a record, and I was basically assigned to record the record with you guys. And I think the idea was that we'd spend 10 or 20 hours or something making a record, and it probably was hundreds of hours by the end of it. And then there were some more records after that. There's at least 2 records we did.
Yeah, his mistake, the studio owner, he was such a nice guy. And his mistake was saying, like, you can use the studio whenever it's not being, whenever it's not booked for like a paying gig, which to us meant just like come in every night, overnight, every day. Never actually it just took us so long to get anything done. We just tried so many different things. And I think probably Jay is that why you were probably brought in to work with us, so we had some direction to some extent?
Yeah, that was kind of like the blind leading the blind, though. Yeah. What's that? Yeah. But yeah, I guess then I guess I was right at the end of the high school, and you were in first year university. And Yeah, I was going to Kingston, which is a smaller city, a couple hours away for school the next year. And another guy in the band, Connor, was already there in engineering as well. So yeah, by second year university, Connor and I and another guy in the band, and you transferred to Kingston to school. So we ended up living, 2 or 3 years in university in the same crazy house?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how we met. Yeah, and I guess after that, I moved back to Ottawa, ended up running the studio for a couple years with another guy, and you started Empress around that time. And around the time I was sort of selling off my share of the studio, you were busy with, I guess you were too busy to get the delay done? Was that what it was?
Yeah, I had done the tremolo.
You'd done the tremolo.
And then that was, trying to like build the tremolo in the garage during the day when there was enough light, because our garage, I was living in my parents' house, so their garage was just like very, very dark. So I'd build tremolos during the day, and then at night I'd try to work on this super delay. And it was taking a very long time, and I realized I needed help.
Yeah, so I started doing that like here and there, and then
I think reluctantly maybe.
It's like something different to do. Yeah. I guess 20 years later, here we are. I guess almost exactly 20 years later. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so the super delay, I had a follow-up question. They've seen my questions, which was, what did you first work on together? And I guess it was the super delay. I didn't realize the super delay was made that long ago, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I guess it was tremolo, super delay, and then Perry Q or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really is. I just, I'm gonna opine here that, that's a really long time to work productively with another human being. So good work. I mean, it is.
I would say the whole time was productive.
Yeah. So I let's transition into Zoya a little bit. Steve has told this story a couple of times about how Zoya came out of working with Pure Data and Monami. I think
it's, is it Mono?
Monami?
Mono.
One of those is probably correct. Grid, right? In Pedal Crush, I hadn't read this. Mike sent me the Pedal Crush pages. It sounds like it started with working with that and either the finished or prototype reverb.
Right. Yeah. Taking the hardware from the reverb, and then I think at first it was just MIDI from the mono controlling a special code that I wrote on the reverb. But yeah, I guess when I told the story, I kind of started off at like the Max MSP and like the Pure Data thing. But what actually really prompted the first germ of the idea was I got to meet Kid Koala in Montreal, and because he was using a super delay. And I think he needed it fixed, which is usually the way that I meet, artists that I really admire, and they're like, "Yeah, can you fix this thing? It broke." And he's the kind of guy. His brain's just like exploding with ideas. And usually I'm kind of skeptical of idea people, because usually they have so many ideas and they don't actually get around to implementing anything. They're just trying to find people that will do the hard work for them. But Eric's kind of like this rare bird where he has insane ideas and then figures out ways to get them produced. Like if you go on his website, you'll see like now he has he does these crazy shows. Anyways, you can check it out. It's kind of on a tangent, but when I was there with him, he was saying that he wanted to create like a museum exhibit for kids to learn about synthesis and music. So his idea was that it was going to be a wall and like big buttons and basically like kind of like, you know, like one of those old Moog synths, but for kids. So, you know, not tiny patch cables and not tiny knobs, so big everything. And I was thinking of, instead of just having a linear, you know, your oscillator and then a VCA then a VCF, you'd be able to change the order of how things are connected together and how you do that. So I started to think about, you know, on the wall you'd have buttons and you could push two buttons at the same time to connect them. And the more I talked about things like that, he's like, I don't think kids are really going to get this. You know, they don't know anything about synthesis. So our idea kind of didn't really go anywhere, but it got me going when I got home.
When did you start? I mean, when did that go from like a thing I'm playing around with to an idea for a product? You know, because that's a different beast, right?
Yeah. I think it started becoming more real for me. I was kind of just getting a little bored with, I think we had just released maybe the tape delay, and I just wanted to kind of do something really different than that. So I started working on it at night, so it wouldn't be like, you know, if I'm working on it during the day, then it kind of seems like a waste of time if it's not going to go anywhere. But at least if I can get it to a point where it actually works, yeah. I don't know the exact timeline, maybe 2016, was it?
Yeah, you've got code commits going back to 2015, I think. But yeah, around there. Around after the reverb was released too.
Then,
yeah, whenever that was.
I had that a follow-up question for Jay, which is like, what did you think when Steve came to you with this idea?
What do I think? It's hard to remember. I remember almost thinking like, man, how many people are going to be, I think that was like, I got it. Like you explained it and I understood like what you could do and how it was going to work. But I was like, I don't know how many, like I was trying to think like of musicians and stuff I knew. And I was like, I don't know how many people are going to be able to, because they're going to have to like architect the effects from scratch. Like I just wasn't sure how many people were going to be like into doing that versus having it done. But it was crazy cool because you could do anything. I mean, at the time, we tend to like always underestimate how long things are going to take. So I think at the time we were always like, yeah, even if this isn't a commercial product, we can use it internally to like quickly try a million things out and use that to generate cool, awesome effects, kind of at the very least. But yeah.
Yeah, it turns out that would have been an expensive way to do that.
Yeah.
Do you know if anybody else is doing that now, like using a ZOIA to like prototype their effects as far as builders? They probably keep it
top secret.
Yeah.
We should scavenge Instagram to see if there's like a little ZOIA in the background. Kind of like you know those guys that build like the two guys that build the really crazy structures with concrete, with mud, concrete, and you know, there's like exposés showing like in the YouTube video, like sometimes they won't cover up that there's some third guy working in the background.
And that third guy's name is Zoya.
I mean, I remember Steve saying he kind of hoped that people would use it as like a prototype, like a prototyping tool.
Yeah.
For their own pedals.
Yeah. That would be cool.
Yeah.
And it may be going on, for all we know. And I did want to talk about that prototyping process, because I think for people who are outside of the business, like it's sort of a mysterious thing that going from an idea to a prototype that you send out to beta testers that you're like what is the sort of like brief, at least sequence that goes between like, we've got this idea, we think it might work, and then like building a prototype, sending it out to people? What goes into that? If you could talk about that.
I guess the main thing is like lots of iterations. And I guess lots of paths to go down. Like hopefully you don't go too far down them, but you have to backtrack. Like the original idea wasn't going to be a grid. It was just going to be, you're going to have like maybe 1 or 2 oscillators, then you'd have a VCA and you could have a VCF, and you could connect them in whatever way you wanted. But the modules you had would be set. Yeah, they were fixed. And looking back, it like took a really long time for me to realize that they shouldn't be fixed, which is kind of crazy because you can't really get that much done if you only have 10 modules that you're stuck with.
I think it makes sense if like the point of reference is something like eurorack, where you do like in a rack you've got however many, you've got what you've got, and you can arrange it however you want, but you've got what you've got,
Yeah. But I guess in this case you'd be stuck with, there'd be like one eurorack set up for everyone.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be able to change it for your tastes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can we talk a little bit about the beta testing phase? Because I've heard some war stories from Mitch, for instance, where, when he got it, it sounded like a very different product than when I got it as a consumer. And he sort of described it being much more primitive. Am I mischaracterizing? Mitch might say something.
No, that's true. I think when I got it originally, it probably only had about 20 modules, and the idea was to build all the effects yourself.
Yeah. So
yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was silly.
I tried to build a
like
reverb. First thing I tried with all pass filters, basically. I remember, but yeah.
I think the first one probably didn't have like a sequencer, and I thought that you would just create a sequencer by patching together like little logic modules and like logic and timing modules, and I was like, people will find this enjoyable. And then when I actually tried to do it, after like 3 hours, I was like, holy, this is not enjoyable. We'll make a sequencer, but that's it. And this was before we had like I don't think we had any effect modules to start with. I just thought, well, if people want a chorus, then they can just build one from, like a delay line, because they should know how to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I don't know. We probably had some effects by the time we actually put together a team of people to do the beta testing. Mitch, I kind of forget. Is that kind of how we started talking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how I ended up working for Empress. Because
you're like, you guys need some help.
Yeah, I don't know if I was the best help. I hope so, but at the time I remember like you weren't going to do much of anything as far as marketing it, that I remember. So I was like,
yeah,
you didn't have a marketing person. So yeah, it worked out.
Yeah, the beta testing was good. We'd have like people that were primarily guitarists, and then people that really knew synth well, and so I shouldn't say just guitarists, but people that kind of wanted more like a traditional effect pedal, where everything's laid out for them, and then the synth guys would be like, no, that doesn't make sense from this kind of module paradigm, and so it was kind of interesting trying to find that balance between the two, to not make every single module like 10 buttons long.
And there's some tension there, I think, a productive tension between like things that are fixed and things that are fluid, right?
Yeah. To this day, the tension remains.
Yeah.
I mean, the beta team was pretty massive, in my opinion. I think there were like 50 people, weren't there?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Yes, it was kind of. Some people were really active, but yeah, it was really helpful having that big of a team.
Yeah, it was really fun to participate in because like it was always changing, too. So like you saw it was changing so fast as far as the development that you saw your feedback like almost immediately if you guys took it, and like it was just like a really active beta forum where there were so many ideas in that forum and so many different opinions.
Yeah.
I imagine that was a ton of work too to just like find out how to balance all those.
Yeah. When did we do a lot of beta stuff before when we showed it the first time at NAMM?
It was released, I think, 2019.
Yeah, but we showed it at 2018 NAMM, thinking that we'd have it done within a few months after that.
But I think the beta testing might have started in 2018.
Yeah.
So maybe it was after NAMM we kind of realized it wasn't ready, and that's when we put together the beta team.
Yeah.
I remember, was it the 2018 NAMM or the 2019 NAMM? I remember like Cuckoo giving this like, he did a video where he's just sort of like, guys, you got to know this thing's going to be huge. And I couldn't remember if that was something like kind of right before it came out or like way before it came out. We were all sort of like, okay, Cuckoo. I mean, I trust his opinion, but he had this like hushed, like, no, it's really good, people.
Isn't that just the way he talks though? He's
an excitable guy.
Yeah.
But I think that's sort of, at least from my perspective, the first time where I like heard about it and it sunk in. What was when I saw Cuckoo during one of the NAMMs, just when we lost Steve.
Oh no, I'm listening.
No, I didn't know if there was some localized internet outage in your office. But anyhow, I distinctly remember like Cuckoo sort of like going to bat on the Zoya and being very enthusiastic.
Yeah, he always was. He was a beta tester too.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. I'm curious about. Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
Oh no, I don't want to cut you off. Yeah, what were you saying?
I just wanted to ask you about the prototypes.
Yeah, actually, I found them. I just went into our. Yeah, I have some. I put up some pictures. Let's see here. Yeah, so here's a picture of like the first prototype with the 7 buttons across. I thought that it would be cool to have like prime numbers. That was my idea. It was like prime numbers, that'd be great for like the length and the width. And I remember showing it to Knobs. We were hanging out in Montreal again. I think it was for Sonar Fest, and we shared an Airbnb and we talked a lot about the Zoya. And I think he was I think he mentioned a couple times how silly it would be to have the 7, and it's kind of sunk in. So we switched that up. Yeah.
I always like the acrylic cases. I've been told repeatedly that they're not particularly functional.
Oh, they're terrible. Yeah, I have one here. Like the 3D printed case.
Yeah.
Yeah, it warps like crazy. I don't know if you can see like the amount of warping. Yeah.
They do look cool though.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're see-through and easy to crack.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about the release of ZOIA? Like what that experience was like for you guys?
From what I mean, I was anxious. I don't know when Paul Ull from Chase Bliss. He's like Chase Bliss's media, or not media, MIDI guru, and he was also on the beta team, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he must have been, because he sent me, instead of sending it in the forum, he sent me a private email, and hopefully he doesn't get mad that I'm mentioning this, but in the email he's just like, Steve, I'm sorry, but this is not this is not ready. These effects are like, these are unusable. And then he gave me a couple examples, and I went through them, and I'm like, yeah, I think that's when we were kind of started having to work over, through the night. Because there was still a lot of bugs that we were kind of ignoring because we just wanted to get the thing out. But I think his argument, which was a good one, was that if this thing hits the ground and guitarists, who are our biggest audience, and especially at the time they were, can't use the effects, it's going to just be laughed at. So that was kind of like some sleepless nights. Which I was very appreciative to have.
And when was that, as things were nearing release then? Paul's email?
Yeah, I think that probably pushed it back a couple months. I think by the time we had it ready for release, we were feeling pretty good because people were just so we were getting a lot of emails, people anxious for us to get the thing out. So at least we had, some sales lined up.
Yeah. I mean, I guess part of the question that I'm asking, and that I know, like we've talked about, is like, so ZOIA is like a pretty different product than not only what Empress had done in the past, but also what had been done, I think, in a lot of ways, right? Like, there's some parallels and you can point them out, but like this sort of, like pedal modular thing is different, right? And so what was going through your heads as you prepared to send that out into the world, this sort of like different thing?
I think I kind of forget. Part of it is that you're just so busy.
Yeah.
With like the website, it needed a ton of work. Coordinating all the people that were making videos. There's just so much work that goes into releasing a product that you don't really have that much time to worry about it. At least that's what I'm remembering now. I mean, maybe at the time I was really anxious. I probably was really anxious.
Yeah.
But the nice thing about memory is, like, for the most part, you forget about all the crappy parts.
Yeah.
You reshape it into what you want to remember.
Yeah.
Well, I know when we were preparing, Jay, you talked about, like, maybe this is earlier than the release period, but like the question of whether or not it was a good idea.
Yeah, I feel like we flip-flopped a lot. Like, we'd show it at NAMM and there'd be like this high because a lot of people would think it was really cool, and then you get like that email from Paul Ull and you're like, oh my god, did we just waste hundreds of hours or whatever it was? And then I remember, like, Steve and I would flip-flop too, where Steve was like, this is gonna be the best thing ever, and I was like, oh, I don't know, it's a tiny screen, how many people are actually gonna be able to figure this out? And then we flip-flop the other way, where you'd be like, oh man, have we made a huge mistake? And I'm like, no, we just showed it to all these people and they thought it was amazing. You're like, I don't know though, how many people are out there going to be like that? Like, are we only going to sell 4 of these? Yeah, I think there was a lot of, like, it was definitely an emotional roller coaster at times, I think. But yeah, I think towards the end, you're right. You just get so busy tying up all the loose ends and organizing all the moving parts. And there's just such a rush too, like in the last 2 months of just trying to get them built. With the pedal release, it's kind of crazy too, because you have to build up lots of pedals so there's like enough to get to the dealers, but also the dealers usually order a lot of your other pedals at the same time because they're out of them and they have an order coming. So especially on our manufacturing, you've got to like pre-build extra of all the existing stock as well as build like enough to fill the initial orders on the new stock. So it's from a manufacturing point of view, it's a crazy time too. And like everything's got to ship within the same 2 days because you can't have people getting stuff too early or people getting stuff after the scheduled release, because then people buy it somewhere else. So, yeah.
We we also got a letter from our landlord at the time.
Oh,
and
that's
saying
right.
like, yeah, so in January I think we got the letter and it said, oh, by the way, you're being kicked out in February. And we were planning on releasing the pedal I think in March at first.
Yeah.
So yeah, things like that, like you just.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about that.
Like being evicted. Yeah, that would throw a wrench.
Like,
a little bit of a wrench, yeah.
Phone.
But luckily we worked it out with them. Yeah, we phoned the lawyer first thing.
Like, can they even do this?
Yeah. So.
What if we just don't leave? Yeah.
Yeah, they needed us. So yeah.
Maybe this is a good time, Mitch. Could you pull our question we've got here? Like, let's start looking at community out there. Why don't you start, throwing stuff at these guys, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, so you remember if this was on purpose or not, Steve? I remember being like, because I just started working at Empress at this time, and we had talked about it, and we we're just like, yeah, why not? Why not April Fool's?
That's what I remember too. I'd be like, some people, they're going to think it's an April Fool's joke and do nothing, and then like the next day they're going to realize it wasn't that, so why the hell not?
I mean, I think I remember as a user, like I ordered it and wasn't sure if I was going to receive anything. Like, it wasn't that I thought I was being scammed or anything like that, but it was just sort of, I remember joining the Facebook group that started before it was released. And like, there was some speculation like, hey, what was that about? Is this thing actually coming out?
Yeah, that was definitely on purpose, the April Fool's thing, which probably is not a good idea from a marketing point of view.
No, probably not. And neither was the video, the Knobs video. That I thought it was pretty fun, actually. That the whole idea that the Zoya, became this like.
The sentient Zoya.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I love that
video.
video.
Awesome.
That was actually, I wrote a script for this, and it was like insane because I'm the ideas guy that Steve is wary of, where I like to come up with like the weirdest sci-fi stories. I don't want to write the book. I just want someone to write the book for me, and I have the idea for it.
The person at the beginning of the movie, the story by. You're that guy?
Yeah.
But I wrote the script for this whole story about the sentient Zoya, and it was really dark, and like I think everybody dies at the end.
That video is really dark. I mean, like there's definitely a dark undertone to it, right? Like.
But like I had Steve doing a lot of acting, and like I think Knobs came and read it and was like, Steve can't do it. Like, no, we can't do it.
I think Steve, Knobs had tried to get me to do some acting with Joel, and it just turned out so terribly. He realized that was not going to happen.
I remember Knobs taking, Steve's lines and just like, we need about 10% of these in here.
Yeah.
We'll try this.
And then let's cut them down again.
Camera work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there an extended cut of that video somewhere?
An extended cut? Well, I guess probably maybe, I don't know. I'm guessing Knobs has probably tossed it. He's probably got some outtakes.
It'd be cool to see the outtakes.
You should contact him.
Paul, I see. Paul wrote in. It was rough to send that email, I must say. Yeah, Paul said in the email, he was just like, I'm so sorry to have to send this to you, but he's being honest. He's like the honest friend that you always want to have, but you don't have many of them. The ones that will tell you what they actually think.
But tell you when you have food in your teeth.
Yeah, or when
But what was the email? I mean, what was wrong with it at the time? Do you remember? Because I don't know.
I think we were just not focusing enough on the effects. I think that was kind of like an afterthought.
Yeah, I remember thinking like, we were like, you know what? All our customers right now are predominantly like guitar players. We need to have, and we basically decided like, we'll have all the basic stuff, but we need an effects section that just covers your classic guitar effects. So if somebody wants to use it as just a multi-effect, they can just plug it in, plop it down, and just connect the four modules in serial or whatever and get their stereo delays and tremolo and the classic stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when that changed actually, and it was it was.
So were you beta testing before those were in there? You must have been beta testing before that first NAMM.
No, I think I got it when it was the firmware was 0.04, so it was the fourth, and there was it was like after the first NAMM, but yeah, I remember when it changed, and it was super helpful to have all those effects.
Yeah, Paul's email was in November of 2018.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you're interested in some of this, I forget when this was done, but some of the beta firmwares were added to the changelog, which is always an interesting read. Like fixed crazy distorted ring mod sound caused by delay with module, we think. But
yeah, I was reading back through our early code commits earlier, and there's a lot of pretty funny commit notes on stuff, just like a lot of stuff like that, where it's like crazy sound, encoder skippingness, and
I think in terms of like the reaction to it, it looks. I think the biggest thing that we got over and over again was that it looks a lot more complicated than it turns out to be after I don't know, like half an hour to an hour with it. And then once you get used to how it works, it becomes, a lot of people have said that they found it pretty easy to work with. Or at least a lot easier than they thought it was going to be.
Yeah, as far as usage too, I remember talking about how like we kind of thought, we knew later on that like people are going to use this in ways that we probably won't imagine. Like we were thinking like, it makes all the MIDI stuff crazy programmable too. So I could see almost like a lighting person controlling a stage show with a bunch of MIDI from it, because you could set up these really complex sequences without a computer and have it spit all these crazy MIDI messages. So I guess we weren't too surprised by some of the usages. I was surprised how in depth some people went with it. Like, perfect example, you, Christopher. Like, I see some patches and I'm like, I don't know how to use the Zoya after looking at some of this stuff. Like, I wouldn't know where to start to make that kind of thing.
I was just thinking about a patch I did recently that allows you to roll dice on Zoya. You know, which
yeah.
Sort of think is
Christopher, I thought you were going to say, I was just thinking about that time when you did the boot camp and you called me when you needed help. So I was supposed to do the boot camp episode, and I was like, oh my god, I cannot make anything close to as good as like what Christopher can do. So I called Christopher and got help.
And that went pretty good.
Yeah, it went all right.
Yeah.
Much better than it would have.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, I have this idea, and then I spent too long trying to like really make the idea happen.
And I think the problem that you were having was, and this is something that I think a lot of people have, is like overthinking before the fact, right?
Yeah.
Where like instead just get in and get something going, and you can sort of build off of that. But like Steve sent me this email where he's like, I want to do this thing where like there's all these delay lines and fuzzes and pitch shifters, and I'm like, that sounds cool, but you know, like
it's
something has to happen in the boot camp. Do you see a place to go to here, Mitch? Okay.
As far as questions, yeah.
Yeah.
Where'd the name come from?
Where did the name come from?
Oh yeah, okay. So the name Zoya Horn. She's a librarian. I think she escaped from Russia, moved to the States, and this was during like the Vietnam War, and you know, she was against the war, and she was hanging out with a lot of people that were protesting it, and she was like involved. She went to a party where some other people were at the party, and they were charged with like a plot to kill some politician and like bomb some building, and then so I think the federal government wanted to use her as a witness against them, and so she said like, you know, she basically said, I'm not going to, like, it's my conscience is stopping me from being a witness, and so they basically held her in contempt of court. So she went to jail for a while. She's basically just a badass, and yeah, it doesn't have any relation whatsoever to modular synthesis. Just that she's cool, and it's a cool name. Like, who doesn't want to be named Zoya?
Yeah. Can I ask about the, you know, like, because it's been pointed out a couple, like, it's not Zoya, it's Zoya, all caps.
Yeah.
Is that just a style choice, or what? Is there some hatred of lowercase letters there, or what's going on, Steve?
Yeah, I don't know why we said like, hey, we actually, I think some YouTubers, we would email them and be like, would you mind just making those capitalized? You know, we were really particular about it.
Yeah, you made that decision, I think, almost right before the launch to do it. You decided it was going to be all caps. But I don't remember why.
I think it was probably good to at least have some kind of consistency. So it's either going to be all caps or just like capitalized Z. I guess in the end it didn't really matter because people will spell it, or people will capitalize it however they want.
They've kind of picked up on the all caps. You know, I mean, it's pretty consistent, I'd say, in the community.
I do like how it's, you know, yelling at you, and it's like those people that write their emails to you in all caps.
Yeah, I think it's a better name than if you tried to stick with the Empress naming convention of naming the pedal what it does.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Empress modular synthesizer? Is that?
Yeah. That would have to be it.
Was there another name that was tossed around? But like, how did you settle on Zoya?
Oh right, yeah.
You had Zoya pretty early on.
Yeah, I think I was just like, there was a bit of argument over the name and how it wasn't really going to be great. But I think it was one of those times that I just said, I don't really care. It's just, we're just going to name it the Zoya.
Yeah, I can't think of...
Usually I'm open to, ideas. That time I don't think I was, though.
I couldn't imagine being named anything else now. I feel like it just... Yeah.
I think it certainly helps it. I think I would have been less attracted to something called the Empress Effects modular synthesizer than like the Zoya, because it's a cool name. It sticks out, right? It rolls off the tongue.
Yeah.
So Brian asks, building pedals seems like a daunting undertaking, Zoya especially. As the creators, what is your relationship like with Zoya? Has it changed over time? Are you able to use it with fresh eyes?
Fresh eyes. I don't get to use it. I don't get to build pedals enough right now, or work with pedals enough right now. So how has it changed over time? I don't know, Jay, I'm a little stuck on this one.
Yeah, I think one thing that's weird is like, on any pedal, the hardware is finalized probably 3 or 4 months before it comes out. And lots of times we're working on the firmware up until the last minute, but even it's got to be done by the time we start building them. And there's like, I don't know, there could be a month or 6 weeks of building, and that's got to ship. So usually by the time it's hitting users' hands, you're like jumped into the next project. And the next project is in the exciting stage at that time, because it's not in the daunting stage, and you're really excited about the next thing. So by the end you kind of want to put it behind you and jump into the next thing. And it is always daunting at the end, because it's tying up all the loose ends and little bugs and little fixes, and most of the fun features have kind of been implemented long before. And it's like putting out fires and stuff. I think the cool thing is like we use the Zoya as a tool here quite a lot, both in the shop. Like we use it to test a lot of the other products, in the sense that we hook the other products up to it, and we go through sequences and where different kinds of test tones are sent out and then read back by Zoya, and you get a green light or a red light. And even in development now, like we use it as a tone generator all the time, and we use it to, if we have like half an effect going but we need to put EQ or whatever after it, we'll just do that on the Zoya quickly as a proof of concept. So it's the only product like that like we come back to and are still using, I think, as like the design team uses it at least on a weekly basis, if not on a daily basis a lot of the time, just kind of as a tool, which is kind of neat. But yeah, like Steve said, we don't have the time to create on it like we did when we were actually developing and working on it. Yeah.
So let me ask, the next thing after Zoya though was Eurobureau or ZBoo, right? Like, or do you see those as sort of like co-development processes? Like you talked about how like as you ship something out, like you're sort of like psyched to move on to like the next project, right?
Yeah, I guess that's true with Zoya. Like ZBoo would have been, the hardware would have been well underway at that point, eh?
Oh,
because like the one of the processing board in the Zoya is used in the ZBoo, and we had to account like with the hardware for how that was going to work. So yeah, we were starting to work on that. quite a bit. And it was, I guess, probably not as co-developed as you would think. We just had to make sure that what we wanted to do with the ZBoo was going to work with the common hardware. But for the most part, it's not like we were writing the firmware to work with the ZBoo until we got the ZBoo hardware going, I guess. Yeah.
Mitch, can I post up one of these questions?
Yeah.
What is it? Snorgathon? I gotta say, Brazil, I think, is my favorite movie that I cannot watch the whole thing without falling asleep. I love that movie so much. And I love the premise, like, it's so good, bureaucracy being the ultimate, dystopia. But this idea, like the teeny tiny screens with the big fat lenses, actually, Daniel Fisher, he wrote the quick, what was it called?
Quick start guide.
The quick start manual for it, and that was like right at the start of it. He said, go to the convenience store, the grocery store, or go to the pharmaceutical store and buy reading glasses, and then stop complaining about the screen. He would always, he'd be complaining about people complaining about the screen. So yes, that tidy kludge did happen during beta testing. Anyways, I'll take that away. But yeah, that's kind of funny.
This is a common misconception too.
I think it's like desk, right? Bureau, like a work thing.
Not like a donkey.
I kind of like it too. It's like a workhorse, maybe.
Bureau. Yeah, sure.
That's how I always interpreted it in my head. Was like,
a donkey, a European donkey.
The donkey in the sense of like trustworthy, really solid, kind of ornery, workhorse animal.
Yeah. It just rhymes. We were working on an expander strip, and I think what we had in mind was that the expander strip was going to be called the Expanduro. So it'd be like the Euro Bureau Expanduro. And the only way for that to work was to call it the Euro Bureau. So I think...
Yes, that's the only way for that to work.
That
didn't happen. But it would have been fun just to have people talking to us about it. We're like, we don't know what you're talking about. They're like, the expander for the Euro Bureau? We don't have one. Oh, you mean the Euro Bureau Expanduro?
It needs one just for the name.
Yeah.
It can just be like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Just an extra knob that connects via MIDI and call it the Expanduro. I can't even say the name.
That's a lot of the fun, I think.
Yeah, I practiced it in the mirror. Expanduro, yeah, Expanduro.
How would you spell that?
Just expand and then URO.
I think a whole line of just products that have URO at the end of them is really the path forward.
Yeah. Reverb Bureau. Is that Duro? Yeah, I guess it's Giro Bureau. Giro Bureau.
I like it. Cool. Christopher, do you have any other questions, or you guys have any?
I think the community is probably the better way to go.
Hey, everybody, if you have any more questions, throw them out there. And we'll... I
did want to ask about the artwork. Or I did
Yeah,
want
that's
to
what I was going to
prompt.
mention.
Oh man, Steve, you should go through the
Right, yeah.
go through your
Actually, I did
artwork
pull some.
iterations. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So
Go to the
Eric,
photo album.
I'd go to the photo album, yeah. So Eric Niffler, he had posted something on Instagram. He made a really awesome graphic art of a pedal board. You know, and instead of calling something like the metal zone, it'd be like the metal bone. I have it on my wall. So instead of the metal bone, it'd be instead of the metal zone, it'd be the metal bone, and like the Mooger Fooger would be like the Booger Fooger. Anyway, so I got in contact with him and asked him if he could help with this project. So he was the one that came up with the logo type. But some of the things that he went through first, like an Art Deco idea, and then this guy.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah. And then when we finally when he showed me this one, I loved it, and then we tried a couple different iterations. Yeah. So yeah, working with him was awesome. And at first, actually, the first couple of designs of it, he was trying to incorporate the fact that Zoya Horn was a librarian, so there was some book elements to it. But unfortunately, just because there's so much busyness already on the user interface, that we had to cut them all out and just make the user interface as simple as we could, or the symbols.
And they're always in caps, I notice. Even the early artwork's all caps.
Oh right, yeah. I don't know if that maybe it was him really that dictated that design choice.
It's cool.
I was actually trying to prompt you guys to talk about the artwork for this evening's event. Although
right.
Both of these are good subjects, but
we don't have that posted. Well, what happened was Jay and I both did some artwork for it, and then we realized it looked terrible, so we just blamed our children for it. But we have a.
Yep. That's the story I was fishing for.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm just bringing up the artwork here. It's in our Slack somewhere. Yeah, this is basically it. Without the background though. Here we go. Sorry, I should have had this up before.
What?
8-1.
I mean the other.
Yeah, here we go. That was you did some stuff to it, right, Chris? You changed the background.
I did an autofill.
Oh right, the autofill. That's pretty high tech. Yeah. So my Jay, you got?
Yeah,
you
two of my guys did. George and Henderson. George's is on the bottom left, and Henderson's is on the bottom right, and Hux is in the middle. Hux is looking close to
well, the one on the left looks pretty awesome too.
Yeah.
I really like the one on the right because it's more avant-garde.
It is more avant-garde. I forget on that one what is in the lower left, but it's something funny, like it's like purposeful grass or something, like it needed some grass there or something. Something completely illogical. Yeah.
If anybody out there can tell what the what the thing in the upper left and the upper right are, try if anybody can guess that. I would say almost, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
You both.
Yeah. Whenever
you both recognized it in your children's respective work, so.
Somebody asked how they get a Zoya T-shirt. That I think you can still get them on our website, although we haven't ordered new ones for a really long time, so I think we're stuck with we only
Triple
have
XL.
No, I think only like mediums left or something.
No, okay.
And and no. Unfortunately, sorry, Harrison Fnord, but yeah, we tried, and it didn't work.
So, I'm sorry, I keep putting this one up and off. I just want to say sorry, Ben, for cutting into competing with your stream.
It was totally intentional. I remember Steve was really cutthroat about this when we were setting up times, and he said, "I got to take Ben down a peg." I just thought that was harsh, but
it's the only live stream I watch.
Yeah, it's part of our master plan for taking over live streaming.
Yeah.
It's a terrible plan then, you know what I mean, to like it's a niche within a niche, right? Is to take out Ben's audience.
So I see 22 people are watching right now, which I think is pretty awesome. Does that include us though?
No.
Not unless you've opened YouTube.
That's well, I haven't told my whole family to open YouTube, so
yeah,
we're good.
There you go.
Oh yeah, the influence was definitely the monome. I mean, that was the first prototype was a monome sending out. I guess it wasn't sending out MIDI directly to the to our reverb. It was sending MIDI to the computer, and the computer. I guess because the monome doesn't send out MIDI, it sends out. I think it's like OSC. Is that a thing? It's been a long time now since I was doing that.
Oh yeah. Wasn't.
But John, I guess by Lego software, do you mean like their Scratch likes? They have a language in Mindstorms that's kind of like Scratch. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah, it wasn't I2C, but we use I2C inside the Zoya to go. There's two processors, and we use I2C and SPI to communicate between the two processors. Thanks, John, for getting back there. Yeah, actually, we actually used that Lego software programming language at Empress to. We have a little pot tester that will turn a pot 10,000 times and then stop and then turn it 10,000 times, and you keep it going until you destroy the pot, and that's written in that Scratch language, which is fun to look at.
There's another video that you had where I thought it was Lego software doing button tests on the grid.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we had a really great co-op student. Yeah, it's like your task for the term. Actually, it was two co-op students, and one dropped out, so the other one took over the whole project, and he did an awesome job. And I thought that like this was going to be the way we were going to test all of our products, just having Lego robots test them. And it turned out to be somewhat not possible.
Yeah, I remember you were really excited about like everything being tested with Lego.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good waste of money though. It was fun.
There's a great video on Instagram for those of you who haven't seen it. Or it might be on the YouTube channel too, I'm not sure.
Yeah. I was thinking at least if it doesn't work out, we'll still have an Instagram post that gets like 10,000 views. And then when it got like 100 views, I was like, okay, well that's
really
bad.
That one didn't take off.
No, I'm sure it did okay, but
yeah.
Well, whose music was that? Was in there?
I think I just made the background music with the Zoya patch on that one.
No, it was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe. I found it. I'll post the link to this video.
Everyone should check that out. It's really cool. It really, I mean, and
it's super cool. Yeah.
And someone mentioned also the speed build, or the sped up build that John did. The video of John building
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Those sort of stuff I always find really fascinating.
Yeah, we were really proud of that because we made a lot of jigs to make that build easier. Because we kind of, I mean, if you look at the Euro Bureau, it's like, I forget how many ribbon cables.
I think it's 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Might be 5. Yeah.
Like more than an iPhone. And putting it together without all those jigs was just such a pain.
Yeah, we should shout out to Taylor and Colin too, because they both worked at Empress as co-op students on the Zoya. Taylor did a ton of the screen code, and I think when Colin started, he had barely written code before, and we just like, we were in the middle, he was supposed to be hired to do something else, but we were in like the middle of trying to get Zoya done. So we just like threw him in the deep end, and he figured it out. And he's done probably, he did most of a lot of the code maintenance, I would say, after release, when he was back working here full time after he finished school.
Yeah.
Which I kind of forgot until recently. I was going through the code and I was like, oh yeah, they both, that's when they did their co-op, was right in the thick of the Zoya dev. Yeah.
So could I ask, we sort of like brushed over Euro Bureau, but like what is the development relationship between the two products? Because I've heard that Euro Bureau was sort of always planned. That's the way that I think Mitch has maybe described it to me, or Steve, or something, like that it was very early in the like plan for Zoya. But like, when did Euro Bureau become like part of the path?
You know, I can check.
Yeah, I think it was definitely the idea that we were going to do it as well was pretty early on. And I think we started planning for the hardware like well before the release of Zoya.
I have the first commit in June of 2018, so it's not.
Yeah, that's the
so
code. Like we'd done a lot of work on the hardware before we even started writing the code for it, I think.
I think you had a prototype before the Zoya was released, or right when the Zoya was released, you already had a prototype.
You have the hardware?
Yeah. The hardware, yeah.
I could see that. Yeah.
Then there was that pesky international pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I dug up some pictures of the first screens, which didn't really change that much. So when I was first working on in my basement, I was just like drawing. Oh, that's not the screens. Yeah, so this is gonna be the first screens. I don't know why it chose Maxwell's Hot Mess was the name of the patch. But it kind of this is like you're picking your delay, and then as you go to pick the next thing, you know, it would get big.
Yeah.
But I think when we actually tried to implement this, like the second picture, it would make the options so small that we had to get rid of all the extra information.
Error.
Yeah, at first I guess we made it so that you couldn't have modules go from one. Oh, I guess they couldn't overlap each other. Because we thought that really, I mean, that does confuse people sometimes, you know. Well, it is confusing if you have modules overlapping, but then it also allows for a lot of cool things that you couldn't do otherwise. I don't know what else there was. Oh, that was the original preset screen, which, yeah. And the original parameter screen. Yes, I didn't. I guess they changed somewhat.
Well, what's not on there is the number line. You know.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's sort of like an extra conceptual level for Zoya is like really, you know, like what you're dealing with different parameters and effects when you patch in Zoya, but really you're dealing with that number line, you know, like and interactions between different things that affect that number line. When you start talking at least about the control CV side of it, right? I always thought, like, for me, learning modular was easier on Zoya. I tried eurorack a couple of years before I tried Zoya, and I just found it perplexing and like, what's all this voltage stuff? And I found it actually easier to learn modular synthesis on Zoya because those interactions weren't like, I don't have to keep track of like 5 volts and negative 10 volts and all, like, it was just 0 to 1. Like, for whatever reason, that made it simpler to grasp for me.
Yeah.
So I like the number line a lot.
Yeah, I think with the original release, we didn't have, like, it didn't ever show negative numbers, I think, on the line. I kind of forget.
Yeah, I don't think it did. I don't remember.
Interesting facts. Interesting facts that may or not be true.
We can just make stuff up.
Yeah.
That actually, that is one of the questions, like, that I had, which would be in my section additional questions / filler. What's the weirdest, like, alternate reality version of Zoya that might have been? Like, what's a path that you, like, thought about going down and ultimately didn't? But, like, if you had gone down that, like, what's the weirdest place you think Zoya could have ended up?
I don't think it would be. I think definitely for me it would be that just having a pedal where everything's static and like, and I think I kind of still want to do this to some extent, but you know, you'd have your oscillator over here, you have your LFO over here, and each one has like a little set of buttons, but it's always going to be that. And that would have looked a lot different and been well, obviously a ton less versatile, but probably would have been more useful for people that didn't buy the Zoya, you know, because it's too complicated, or it looks too complicated.
That doesn't sound uncomplicated, though. I mean, like, if your background doesn't, you know, like, isn't familiar with those tools, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like if somebody hasn't used like a Moog synth before, it's complicated, and so it would at least be that complicated.
Yeah. So are you saying you want to make a synthesizer, then? Like a
just
subtractive synthesizer?
Kind of
yeah.
In a pedal, yeah.
Okay. Well,
we should just let this kind of die.
it's doing that. No,
let's spend just a couple minutes in silence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Christopher, you actually had something to say.
I was trying the silence thing. No, I mean, you know, I was just going to say, like, maybe give a last call to the people in the chat, like, you know, let's see if they have any more questions, and then maybe we can sit in silence for a while, just to meditate on the state of things.
I'm gonna be making some T-shirts for like some secret purpose at this point. But if somebody can,
you publicly announce.
Yeah. And you might not actually want this It's going to be like an Empress T-shirt. It's for Empress, but you might not actually want the T-shirt. But if anybody can figure out what the things are in the upper left and right hand corners are, and that other little guy, then they get a free T-shirt. Max crazy.
Man, I don't even have my guitar hooked up. We should have done Max crazy.
Yeah.
You gotta remember.
Oh, is that the way to end it? That's the way to end it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do audio.
I didn't either.
I didn't do audio because I wanted to like make sure we got people connected.
Well, yeah, once you plug in a Zoya, Christopher, then people are going to start asking, like, oh, can you just help me with this issue I'm having?
Go to our Zoya and ask, and I will probably answer your question. There's like definitely a good 50% chance that like I'm the person who responds to you.
Christopher, would you be afraid to see like the number of words you've typed into our Zoya?
No.
Like just helping people?
No, I mean I have like 180-page document that.
Right. 180 pages enough too.
That I've written like a lot of, not all of, but a lot of it is.
Yeah. Minus the one paragraph I wrote.
There are 2 paragraphs we wrote.
2 paragraphs.
Make sure you get credit for those.
Yeah.
He's the only person who's ever signed his name to anything.
Yeah.
So he has credit. And then there's I have like it's close to 250 patches on patch storage now, and those all have patch notes. There's the factory set, and those all have patch notes. It's a lot of words I've written about Zoya in the past 3 years. I feel I would not be shocked by the number on our Zoya.
These are all good guesses. The one guy is Canada. That's a great guess. Not the case. I don't know who's ZMO. I don't know what that is. I'm not up on things. Jackson Pollock. That's also a really good guess. But so far,
this is a total aside. But have you ever seen a Pollock in person?
Like the man?
No, he's dead. Steve, I hate to break it to you.
No, sorry, not in person, no.
But one of his canvases in person? It's really, it's a really different experience than seeing a reproduction in a book because, like, there's so much paint on those canvases that they have, like, this level of dimensionality. This is, again, a total aside, but, like, it's one of the, like, there was a print in the Carnegie Museum in Pittsburgh where I go a lot as a kid, and I just remember like there were a lot of great art pieces in that museum and a lot of them, but like the sort of like pure 3Dism of Pollock really stood out to me because I'd seen it in books, you know, and it seems like cool but very flat, and this is like there's layers of paint anyhow.
Haven't done it.
Simon's here, cool. Simon works at Empress. He's our master shipper now. He gets it. I don't still. So GMO from Adventure Time. Does anybody know what Adventure Time is? That sounds fun.
It's a cartoon, but that's as far as I...
Okay, well that's getting closer.
Yeah, it's getting closer. Ooh, I just googled the Zemo. It's a good guess. Yeah.
Van Gogh paintings are surprisingly 3D. Yeah, didn't he like go over and over? I guess most painters probably go over and over trying to fix what they see as issues.
Or just reuse the canvas.
Yeah.
Or reuse, yeah.
Instead of buying a new one.
SpongeBob.
Also decent dish.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it looks like SpongeBob, yeah. A little bit. I'll give a clue. Wait, is that? No, not the Brave Little Toaster. It is a show on Netflix.
Brave Little Toaster's what I knew it wasn't that, but it's what it reminded me of when I first saw it, for whatever reason. The cheerfulness.
Yeah.
I actually don't know what it is either.
I can't remember what it is. They explained it to me. I don't have a point of reference, so I can't give anything away. It's just a cheerful guy up in the corner that I like.
Top right, Stairway to Heaven. Oh, that's a good guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost don't even really want to say.
Disclose at this point? Yeah.
Disclose it.
We did talk about starting an alternative reality game with this live stream. So this could be like the first clue, and when you unlock the mystery of the jolly little corner guy, it tells you something else. And at the end is that Empress shirt that Steve sort of suggested people won't want.
Yeah, most likely. I'm surprised we're still at 24 people. That basically means like we're staying constant, so like our previous talk is on par with what we're talking about right now, which is depressing.
Well, I mean, I think you guys are fun to talk to, so that's...
Oh, Octonaut. Now that's a good guess. Only because I know that show, and my son was watching that for quite a long time.
That was big in our house for a while too. Yeah. I actually enjoyed.
That's what I try to.
The shows the kids watch. That was an enjoyable one. I think because of the accents too. A lot of awesome accents in there. Yes.
So Captain Barnacle, is he the one that's always out of control, like yelling at everybody?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
That's who I aim to be.
I think everybody's holding out for Max Crazy.
We don't.
It's just... I think you're just gonna have to tell us who it is, what it is, Steve.
Quasi's the pirate cat.
I don't want to. But it is a good show, and I recommend it to anyone with kids. Because at first you'll say, wow, this show is terrible. And then your child will surpass you, like quickly surpass you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll tell you, it's the number blocks. So the number blocks, yeah. So each number has a different personality, and the thing up in the right-hand corner is called a step squad. So certain numbers, because they can create steps like that, are step squads, and then you can. I think you have super step squads.
Oh, you've watched the show a lot closer than I have.
Oh yeah. 18 is a speed. 18 is a speed machine. Yeah, it's a pretty good show.
This is called the number blocks.
It is like insanely
number blocks.
Surprising how much kids can learn from it. Yeah.
Cool. It looks like
Make More Music is not impressed.
Okay.
I mean, it looks like it's relevant to the Zoya too.
Well, I can try to weave that back into some of the stuff that we talked about beforehand. I mean, you know, one of the things we talked about when we were prepping this was while Zoya was underway, you both had like infant children, right? You know, like.
Yeah.
Yeah. The sleep was not regular back then. Yeah, there's a lot of going back and looking at code, and you're like, oh, who wrote that? That is crazy. And it's like, oh, that was me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I first contacted these two about this live stream, they were like, I don't really remember anything that happened then. I'm like, you don't have to remember the exact stuff. And I was like, no, I don't really remember the inexact stuff either. Is the
Yeah.
Oh, there is a question. Okay, so Harrison Fnord asked, any chance of user scales? I'm gonna. Christopher, do you know a way of doing it without us having to do any extra work?
Yep. There's something on Tips and Tricks about microtonal scales, as long as they're equal tempered. So like 19 tet or something like that is really just a matter of scaling connections. So there's that. You can create like a lookup table, but that's a lot of work and introduces some latencies. I would love if you did user scales. I should say that off. Like, it's something that.
I'm hiding this one. Bring it. I'm hiding that one.
I guess I should be quiet now.
Yeah, I think he predicted your answer because he or she said, you know, microtonal. They're not talking about what you're.
Well, I think user scales are by definition are niche, but like they have a lot of applications, not just melodically, but really what you're talking about is creating a lookup table, right? Which could be used for a lot of other applications outside of just scales. I mean, once you start looking at it from the right lens, because you're really just saying like when this point is met, this thing happens, which, you know, you can use to like rewrite LFOs and do all sorts of crazy stuff. So I'm a big fan of user scales. I'll just put that out there. You guys should do more work on that. Sorry to sabotage you.
Now it's on public record.
Yeah.
Should we all just start clicking away incessantly? I gotta do some bookkeeping over here.
Reverse delay line module.
Maybe we can give that to Colin.
That one would actually be pretty quick, I think. Last famous words. Always last famous words. Yeah.
Here's a good one. Do you have a go-to sound you like to run through the Zoya when testing effects?
Yeah. Well, I have a file that's way too old now. That's like half an hour long. That's the same set of like, it's got everything in it. It's got like a bunch of guitar riffs into drum hits to like single drum hits to like string sections, and it's stuff I'd amassed over the years of recording that I just put in, but I have like never updated that file in 10 years. So I'm sure anybody who has an office near me or is within earshot is so sick of it at this point. But I'm so programmed to like just tune it out that it doesn't bother me. But yeah, it's I need to, I think, like throw that out and get some new testing sounds. But
no, I love them.
You left them. Yeah. They're not unfamiliar. Yeah.
I feel like that'd be really useful, though. I mean, not to encourage your torture of your coworkers, but like because they're so familiar, like you can pick up on differences very easily.
Yeah, that's true. I've heard them so many times. There's nothing distracting about them. Yeah.
Jay, I might secretly record, because Jay, over like probably over 20 years, Jay's like perfected a couple riffs that he always plays.
Oh,
they've gotten better and better over the years, so I kind of want to secretly record
There's
them.
only like 3 of them now.
Yeah.
It's like,
Steve,
that's all I got. Yeah.
I've got to
That's all I
reiterate, the word secret means something very different from how you seem to be using it.
Right. There are no secrets now. I mean, Google's listening, your phone's listening.
Yeah.
Your Zoya's listening, right? Oh, whoops.
Oh, hopefully. I'm trying to get the licensing deals or whatever.
So you start using Zoya a lot, and then you get a lot of ads for like, have you thought about buying a delay line recently?
Yeah, microtransactions for the Zoya. That's the dark way it could have gone.
Oh, right, in-app purchases. Well, I guess basically in-app purchases are like the H9.
Yeah, you could do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like maybe it isn't that bad, but I can't imagine trying to buy like the comparator module. Like how I need that.
Yeah.
I was thinking more of like, as you use Zoya on Instagram or whatever, you get like ads for comparators. You know, oh, we noticed that you're interested in, trigger modules. Would you like to order one?
Have you ever seen Zoya in TV or movies? I don't think I have. I don't watch a lot of TV or movies though anymore.
I haven't. I saw the blooper in that TV show promo. What was it?
The one with
Star Trek
Joseph
TNG.
Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah. I actually watched a couple episodes because it had a blooper in it, but the show was terrible.
I could see it if you like. I remember distinctly seeing on the TV show Legion, like a lot of scientific equipment in TV shows is actually like audio equipment because I assume.
Oh yeah.
So like I remember seeing like a circuit that they were like punching stuff into, like we've got to control his brain waves, and I could see Zoya showing up in like that capacity as like little blinking box or something like that.
Yeah, there's what's that Jodie Foster movie? Steve, you would know it as a former
Contact.
Yeah, in Contact.
As a former what? As a
Jodie
former
super
person in love with Jodie Foster. I still love Jodie.
Yeah, and that they're ripping on I think it's like it's the old Eventide harmonizer. Like she's dialing that light on the harmonizer. I was like, guys, you could have just like rubbed out the faceplate or something like. Oh, the movie Contact. Yeah,
that was a good movie.
There you go. People are tossing money at these user scales left and right.
All right, I think we got $10 now.
Yeah, $10.
Set up a GoFundMe. Figure out,
GoFundMe for user scales.
Figure out like how many hours it would take to implement them, and then,
and then multiply it by about 5.
Right.
And then that would be the real number of hours. Yeah.
And then, well, you also have to hire someone to like write it as though like we really wanted user scales, but then tragedy befell the Empress team when, you know, I mean, like
too many bugs.
I mean, unfortunately, GoFundMe is like an essential way of funding some very necessary like things that people need these days. But like, there's also the like empathy fatigue that goes with it, where it's like everyone's story is about like the worst possible thing in the world happening. John Stamos.
He's here.
Shit. Good to hear he's playing local shows again.
Well, John, thank you very much. I just realized, like, people might have, like, a name like John Stamos, which is, you know, lots of people have a name like John Stamos. I knew that.
I was reacting, so, yeah. Well, let's really sort of wind it down, even though this part of the show has really been...
We're picking up people now. We're at the most we've ever had, I think. What the hell?
Well, oh my God.
Mitch has to go at some point, and maybe you guys do too. I'm willing to hang out for a while, but, you know, I don't have, like, families to worry about, so...
Yeah, I guess my mom's probably watching this right now, actually. She's taking care of my kid with my dad, and every time I come home and my child is supposed to be asleep, they're not, and now it's 10 o'clock, so the kid was supposed to be asleep 2 hours ago.
That's what grandparents
so it's
are
gonna
for.
Be bad.
I'll tell you, like...
Yeah.
I remember, how old is Hux now?
6.
Yeah, that's about the age where I started staying up with my grandmother to watch Letterman when I was a kid, which had like either a profoundly positive or negative effect on me, because certainly David Letterman is like an influential figure in my my mind. But so grandparents are for, is for screwing up all the other stuff, bedtimes and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You're like, who's this guy Andy Kaufman in this wrestler? This is gonna be boring. Love the shirt. See, thank you. Yeah, the shirt. Oh, my wife made this shirt for me. She made. She's. Yeah. Did Empress set up the production cell before ZOIA was released? No. So the ZOIA was pretty much the thing that caused. I think it was kind of the thing that got me into Lean, and that's what kind of started the building of the production cells, because we were doing it like batch process. 16 ZOIAs at a time would get kind of built in 2 different places, and then they'd go to testing, and then they go to packaging. And if we found a problem in packaging, we'd have to rip the thing apart, and a lot of the time was being spent just like redoing work. And so we set up these production cells, and you can see one of the production cells in that Euro build video. Or was it more like a hotcake season? I am not. Hotcake season. I'm confused. I don't know. But thanks, Garrett. Thank you for bringing up the shirt.
Garrett clarifies.
Oh, reactionary.
Oh, right, yeah. No, it was Yeah, I think doing the production cell was very reactionary, because we were like so bogged down with orders and not being able to get enough ZOIAs out. And we were just putting out fires all the time. So it was kind of a good crisis to have, I think. Finally, this was the whole point of doing this thing, was to sell a Zoya. We finally did. Thank you, Benjamin. This is like a one of those donation things, the donation drive where you have all the phones.
My work is done. I can go home now.
Yeah, we're done.
That's a good question. Did you think this community was going to be so big?
No.
I didn't even think that. Yeah, I didn't think there would be one at all.
That was not on the radar for me whatsoever.
I was hopeful that there would be a community. I think Steve and I talked about it a little bit, but like as big as it was, I had no expectation of that at all.
I want to give a shout out to Mike for a lot of that, because Mike was the guy who got our Zoya started and got the Discord started, and like just sort of, I mean, there's more than just the founder, but like Mike said, yeah, let's have a community. Let's get that out there.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Also, too, somebody asked up above, like, about the patch editor, and like looking at the librarian now, it's like pretty much there. I mean, it's pretty close. I guess it's not quite an editor, but it is at least a viewer.
Yeah, I think that's the patch visualizer stuff in the editor is underutilized.
That's pretty wild. Yeah.
Mitch, do you know how many people we had max? Because I've never seen more than 24 people here.
29.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zoya has a plugin.
Jay, maybe you want to talk about like your development process with DAWs.
Yeah, we used to do a lot of the algorithm work actually in plugin form and then port it over. So there was a point that a lot of our DSP, like audio DSP library, kind of ran as a plugin, especially in the reverb. The reverb algorithms, that was done a lot. A bunch of it sort of in a DAW and then ported over near the end and tweaked the final amount. But yeah, it was just a bit faster. The iteration time of actually loading the code onto the hardware and then finally being able to listen, like, cuts down on that a lot. I thought about it, having actually the whole thing run on a plugin, like getting what it would take to get the front end interface kind of working, but I think it would have been not, the time savings wouldn't have been worth the hassle to do it, to get all the user interface and like to light up in the same way and get the button presses back and forth. But maybe it wouldn't. I'm not really a UI, like a plugin UI person. So maybe if we had someone who had done a lot of that, they'd look at it and be like, oh no, it won't be too crazy. Because we have pretty good like separation between the processor that does most of the UI control and the main processor that does all the DSP. But yeah, I don't know, not in the plans at this point, doing a plugin for it.
Yeah, we did. Well, Benjamin down here asked about a reverb plugin. We did a plugin for the tremolo way back. That was really nice, and I think so. We sold, I don't know, we sold like 20 of them over the course of many years, and then slowly over time we ended up giving 20 refunds basically, because people would keep on emailing us like, oh, Mac updated their OS, it doesn't work any longer. And at first Jay would fix the plugin so that it worked with the new OS. And then we're just like, oh my god, this thing's crazy. So we just ended up having to refund everybody. So we're not really good at. We're not going to sell VSTs.
It's a lot of work. If you get into the plugins, you want to have a lot of them because it's a lot of ongoing work to maintain them. Unfortunately.
Hey guys, I gotta get going, but it was super fun.
Yeah, thanks for
stuff too.
Should we wrap this up?
I think so. I mean,
all right, well,
Mitch, if you got
it was great to talk to you.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for putting this all together, Christopher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice it finally came together.
And everybody that attended and participated too. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should just Mitch, you gotta get going, but maybe we'll just answer the last couple of questions. Yeah, I don't know. This one's interesting. It's a good synth introduction. I think it is.
I have a picture of the reader plugin. I don't know if I can share it. Share screen? Which screen?
You could.
Let me see if I can here. Oh, I can.
Bye, y'all. Okay, now we're at 26, so we're going up somehow.
Oh, Steve, I think you can push my screen to the actual screen.
Oh. How do I do that?
I don't know. Do you see it?
I can push.
Maybe you can't.
Jay. Oh yeah, no, I can. Yeah, there we go.
There it is. There's the Reaper plugin. It looks so
user-friendly
and awesome. Buy this. Yeah, that was the nice thing with having a plugin form is I could literally have whatever it is, 40 knobs there, 30 knobs, all adjustable, of all kinds of parameters within the algorithm. Yeah.
I'd be interested in that. I have to say, as a known tweaker, that looks like a lot of fun to me. But I can also understand that it's not ideal.
Maintaining it to work across a bunch of platforms and graphics libraries change and plugin specs change. It's cumbersome.
So do you want to go back to this question? Is it a good synth introduction for your average guitarist Joe?
I would say yes. So you have all the building blocks there, easily connectable. Like, I think it's a little easier than jumping in full Eurorack. I don't know. Yeah. But I don't know what else is there, really.
What if you wanted to go as cheap as humanly possible?
But learn.
What could you do? Like, I imagine there's like synth kits.
To learn synthesis or to have a synth is sort of a different thing.
Yeah.
Like
Are we talking about learning synthesis?
There used to be that Korg. Do you remember Korg made that little bits thing that was like a bunch of little modules? It was like Legos for synths, and you'd buy, I don't know, like 9 modules, and you could put them together in whatever way you wanted to. That was like $130. I had one for a while. I didn't learn a damn thing about synthesis, really, to be honest. But like
so it was great.
Conceptually, I probably could have. I mean, I think the thing that I'll say from my perspective, you know, in the user community is that we get a lot of comments where people are like, I bought it to do multi-effects, and I ended up like, you know, because it was there. I think because it was there, you know, they go, I've like gotten into the sort of synthesis side of it, you know.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's true of myself as well. Like, I didn't buy it. I mean, I didn't buy it not thinking I'd do synthesis, but it was not like a big priority for me. And then it was just sort of like, it's there, I can mess around with it. So I think like in that sense, it's a low cost investment if you're already interested in Zoya for the other stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's really like 500 divided by 80 divided by the number of buttons. It's like pennies. per button per module.
That's exactly how everyone's calculating it, Steve.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question for you, Chris. Were you an expert on synthesis coming in, synths and sound design?
Not really. Like, I mean, I definitely didn't have a whole lot of experience with like modularity, and I think like for me that's something that's different about Zoya than some other things. Is like it really taught me like the way of thinking about sound design modularly. So I had tried Eurorack maybe a year or two before Zoya and sold it all off because it wasn't fun and I didn't understand what I was doing, and I was just sort of like, even when I did understand what I was doing, like the barrier to entry there between like doing something and doing something like complicated is thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, you know?
Yeah.
So like I had gotten out of Eurorack and I'd owned a few synthesizers, and like I had a Mini Brute for a while, and I still have a Bass Station 2. But I didn't know a lot. And Zoya definitely like made me think more carefully about sound design than those other instruments had. So like I did know something, but I learned a lot from using Zoya and researching things that I wanted to do on Zoya. So like, yeah.
Cool. Well, do you guys want to shut it down?
Sure.
You guys can keep on talking. I gotta get going.
Yeah.
This is crazy. We are almost 2 hours in, which is pretty good.
Yeah. All right. Do you have any closing statements or things at the end of my live streams? I like to ask people about stuff they want to plug, because I'm ripping off Hot Ones. If you've ever seen that show, I mean that's the plan.
Oh right, yeah.
Yeah.
So like, do you guys have anything you want to like shout out? You know,
there's
watch Full House.
Zoya.
Yeah.
Go buy the Zoya.
Well, you got that one sale, so this has all been.
Yeah.
That was the goal. We got there. Mission accomplished banner coming up next.
And yes, John, we did watch Full House. That new season was great.
I haven't watched Fuller House, I have to say.
Oh, right. Sorry, it's Fuller House. Yeah, no,
I think my wife watched that.
Yeah.
Or seeing just clips
so
and thinking.
I did watch Full House back in the day. We were a TGIF house, you know, good values there.
Well, Jesse's a little, he's a little crazy.
Uncle Jesse?
Yeah.
Yeah. Into all that crazy Beach Boys music, really.
It's wild.
Rebel stuff. All right.
All right. Yeah, sounds good. Thanks very much, Christopher.
Bye, everybody.
Putting us together.
Thanks for giving
together
your time, and thanks for everyone for showing up. And I'll try to drag them out to another thing like this whenever I can. At some point, it'll happen. I'll keep cajoling you.
Great.
Awesome.
All right, I'm gonna end this right in the middle of my. Oh, I screwed up because there's a second hit yet again. I'm gonna end this right in the.